The story began in the jail where someone was doing weird things, and the lady was making a weird sound. The protagonist lay in a jail room and thought, what a noisy woman that lady is, and it wouldn't kill her if she did a little bit of that. The next morning, all the prisoners went outside. All the men and women were wearing only to hide their hip side. The protagonist thought that he had been brought there without being fully aware of when and why, and he had no recollection of where he was before that. Or did he know why he was there? He thought that by looking at his physical body, his age would be around 13 or 15. All the prisoners had souped together, and the protagonist thought the gang's name was Igir. Just a lady came to him and asked for permission to sit there. She said that she had heard of him, knowing he completely trashed his opponent in his last match. She found him awesome and really wanted to see each of his matches, even just once that time. Igir asked who she was. The girl said that she was the one who fought using a spear in Igir's opening performance before he knew. Igir said that he didn't know and just told her that he wasn't interested in knowing the names of the other people. And then, a man instructed everyone to finish their food immediately as the guests were already waiting upstairs. He urged them to proceed promptly after bathing. Then, he called a lady named Dora and informed her that she would be the fat lady's companion. He told Igir that there was a match for him, so he should go and prepare. Igir started making his way from there. Just then, the girl came to him and cautioned him to be careful and not to die. Igir just smiled and thought about the choice between killing or being killed, acknowledging that no one knew what would happen until the end. The nature of the location could easily be explained. It was specifically designed for the gathering of young males and females for entertainment, whether that involved being touched by perverts or being made to kill one another. Igir had survived until then, wielding his great sword. He retrieved his sword and entered the battlefield. The host announced that Igir was the undefeated player in his last 100 matches and would be competing with his opponent in sword skills to determine who would become the god of war, who would emerge victorious. Igir's opponent was the young lion Ashma, and then Ashma stood in front of Igir and the battle began. Ashma attempted to attack Igir, who skillfully used his sword to cut off one hand of Ashma, the hand that was holding the shield. Onlookers remarked that they already knew Gang Igir would win the match, given his ability to wield a great sword with such ease. People urged Igir to kill Ashma, and Igir thought that Ashma had chosen the wrong equipment against him. There was no way a leather shield could block his slash. Igir swiftly cut off Ashma's head, and someone exclaimed that the head was flying off. It was as expected of Igir, simple and splendid. Igir began to leave, but the guards stopped him, stating that it was still not over. A man entered from another entrance, appearing frightened and teary-eyed. The man declared that he would clear their dishonor with retaliation on behalf of his fallen brethren, defeated gracefully like flowers. He vowed to defeat Igir's scourge with his own sword. Igir realized that the boy was the family of the man who had entered, making it a distasteful sideshow, suggesting that the new challenger was likely the real deal. The host announced that the former knight in training, Doyle, had arrived, burning with hatred, and asked if anyone dared to bet on his victory. Igir thought that he didn't know what a knight in training was, but people called as such usually had a fast and accurate sword. The battle began, and both Igir and the other man swung their swords at each other. The other man distanced himself from Igir and praised Igir's speed, noting that it was not a normal speed for a great sword wielder. Igir thanked the man and slashed his sword at him. The man blocked the attack with his shield, but the shield fell to the ground. The man told Igir that he was as fast as thunder, having witnessed all of his speed, and it was time to finish the match. The headman of the place observed the sudden drop in speed and found it splendid. Igir suddenly swung his sword at the man, who dodged, thinking he had won. Others urged them to look at the man, and to everyone's surprise, the man's body got divided into two parts. The host declared Igir as the ultimate winner. The leader of Gang Igir realized that Igir wasn't merely guessing the knight apprentice's attacks, he was reading them. Igir took one step closer to follow the knight apprentice's moves. With exceptional eyesight and the ability to freely wield his great sword, Igir had more than what an average person possessed. After the battle, Igir was heading back to his cage when a knight called him, informing him that the master wanted to see him. Igir followed the knight to the master, who revealed that it was Baroness Medile. The master instructed Igir to introduce himself, and Igir simply stated his name. A lady present mentioned to Igir that she had watched his entire battle, and observed that he was very strong, despite being a small child. She touched his body and commented on his well-developed muscles. Igir responded, expressing that he was honored. The master asked Baroness Medile to excuse them and suggested discussing the price before any further interaction or activities with Igir took place. After talking with Medile, the master stated that with 2,000 gold coins, they could even purchase a high-class male in the capital. Furthermore, he noted that Eager, despite being dirty, was exactly as he desired. The master emphasized that there was no other male as rough as Eager in the royal capital. He then instructed Eager to undress, telling the knights to go downstairs and fetch Eager's sword and key, both covered with blood. Eager found himself in that situation. The master asked Medile if she liked it, pointing out that Eager, though not yet an adult, possessed a rather sizable tool. Medile expressed her discomfort, describing it as a brutal thing for a boy. Master said that since Eager had still been alighted from the match, he might just push him down roughly. Just as the door opened, knights came with Eager's swords and said that they brought them as the master had ordered. Master told Eager to take that sword and show his body to Medi. Eager took that and thought that it seemed like he was laughing, and he just cut the head of the knight. Master asked how many days he thought he had survived on the verge of death and to give him a sword without its scabbard. Eager thanked the master. Then, Eager killed all the knights one by one, and then he hit Medi too, and then he reached towards the master. The master fell there and asked why he would do such things and if he had a grudge against the master. Eager denied that and said that he didn't hold any resentment towards the master, and he did that because he wanted to see. Normally, even if he fought again, he always won. And that time, he wanted to see how he would win in a fight trying to escape. He then killed the master, saying that now he had to get out. He came outside, and there he headed ahead by killing all others, thinking that he knew where the exit was. The light had already passed through whenever the entrance was opened for new kids to be brought in. Then he reached the place where all the other prisoners were captured, and they asked Eager to help them escape too. The girl said to Eager that he had a great chance to escape from there. Eager then broke all the locks of the prison so they all could escape. Eager thought that he didn't care if they didn't know the way to the right room and could just do something with their own help. They all saw the sunlight and said that it was the way to escape. The girl said that she was going to look for a city and inquired about what Eager would do. Eager came outside and said that with that stolen sword and clothes, with just those, he could do anything he wanted to do. The scene introduces some people who appeared to be bandits. One of them declared that they wouldn't take the life of another if he was obedient, but they would take his money and the groil from him. The captured person told them that he would not let himself bow down to someone like them. A bandit moved to attack the man, but he swiftly cut off the bandit's head with his sword. Another bandit attempted to hit the man, but he too was killed. The man questioned them about whether they still wanted the confrontation to continue. At this point, the bandits called for Eager's help because they couldn't handle the man on their own. Eager came outside and told them not to shout too loudly, mentioning that he had been hungover for 2 days. He informed them that he was just there to watch. The man considered Eager as a kid and asked why he was getting involved. Eager replied that he was the opponent of that man. The man questioned if Eager was threatened by the bandits and assured him that they could drive the bandits away quickly. Eager responded that there was no need to explain and immediately hit the man, making him fall some distance away. The man's master commented that Eager possessed tremendous power like that of a monster. Eager apologized and proceeded to decapitate his opponent. One bandit acknowledged that he knew Eager would be that strong. And then the bandits tore the clothes of the girl there and said to Eager that it was only done with his help, and he could start with that woman first. Eager denied doing that and told them to just shut the girl's mouth during that time. Other bandits did so, and in doing that, one said that even though he was big, it was a waste not to use that. Eager went to an open grassland area where he lay down and thought that almost half a year had passed since he escaped from that place. He joined a band of mercenaries who had their hideout on the city outskirts. However, the term mercenary was not suitable for them. Bandit would be more accurate. The scene shifts to their base, and there a man asks their boss if they were going to attack the caravan. The boss confirms that it's true, explaining that a caravan of slaves was losing more than half of its escort due to a dispute over wages. Capturing them would be a catch, women and alcohol, all up for grabs. One bandit remarked that it would be hard to catch up to them, even if they started at that time. The boss acknowledged the problem, stating that they weren't pursuing them on the highway. Instead, they would take a shortcut through the erg forests. And then they reached the forest, and one bandit said to the boss that he knew the forest was very dangerous, and he heard that there was a demon nest in the depths of the forest. Another one mentioned that he also heard about a swamp where evil spirits spring up. The boss told all the bandits that he didn't believe in such rumors, so they shouldn't get rattled. He asked them to look carefully, as it was such a peaceful forest, and not a single goblin had appeared. One bandit claimed that they found a private house over there, and inside the house there was a single woman. Another bandit dismissed it, saying that calling it a private house was a mistake, as not even a single hunter enters that cursed forest, and he suspected the bandit was mistaking a tree for a woman. The bandit insisted he was serious and that there was an incredible beauty. The boss instructed them to guide him, and if they followed him, they could confirm the bandit's story. The man said to just head ahead. There, they saw a house inside a tree. The boss declared it was impossible, but some of the bandits approached the window of that house. They opened it, and someone inside said to surround it, commenting on what a very rare sight it was and asking if she was having visitors. The lady was the one whom Igor met at the prison. The girl said that it was him who had come to visit her, and then she asked him why he had been so surprised. Such a small and shabby house was not suitable to welcome them all, and she was thinking that it would be more polite to welcome them at the gate. But she asked for forgiveness, explaining that she had a frail body and couldn't go under the sun. One bandit mentioned that they had taken this into consideration. The boss commented that the girl was very pretty, and he had never seen such a wonderful lady before. Upon entering, the boss asked for pardon because there was a lady alone in the house. The lady replied that she couldn't afford such hospitality and didn't need it. The boss told her that looking at a good woman like her was the best hospitality, and then he put his hand on her and asked about her name. Subsequently, the boss touched her body. The girl apologized for forgetting to tell them her name and then said that she was Lucy Yuktavania. One person was shocked to hear that it was the family name and questioned why a noble was alone in such a place. She insisted they just call her Lucy. The boss asked her what she was doing in such a place and suggested that she could engage in hunting. Igor pondered about hunting and then examined his room, noticing no signs of bows or recent furnace use. Contrarily, there wasn't even a single candle in the room, making him wonder what the lady was doing in the middle of darkness. The boss declared that he had decided she would be his woman. Lucy responded that even if he said such things, she needed to protect the house because it was a place she cherished. The boss asked her if she valued the house more than her life and threatened to burn it down and drag her away. Lucy expressed her dilemma, suggesting she would accompany him if he slept with her, but she requested him to take his time and avoid treating her roughly. The boss assured her that if Lucy was obedient, he would not harm a noble woman like her. Outside, some bandits were sitting and talking, questioning if it was true that Lucy would accompany them one by one. Another one predicted that Lucy would be in bad shape by the time their turn came. Igor went outside and observed one bandit trying to eavesdrop on the conversation inside. The bandit speculated that Lucy was being treated roughly and remarked on how fast it seemed to be over, just as the boss and Lucy emerged outside without wearing any clothes. One bandit attempted to attack Lucy. Igor warned him, asking if he couldn't face her. Lucy effortlessly used her hand, and the bandit ended up in her grasp. Igor realized that Lucy wasn't an ordinary woman. Another bandit claimed to have landed a hit and shot arrows at Lucy. However, Lucy effortlessly removed the arrow from her chest. Igor observed that the wound healed instantly, understanding her true nature. He instructed the others not to falter and to prepare for an all-out assault. The bandits attacked Lucy collectively. Lucy grabbed one with her hand and threw him aside. Igor attempted to attack her, but he only hit the roof. He speculated that she might be a vampire, considering the rumors, and if true, she could be weak to sunlight. Lucy seemed to react uncomfortably to the sunlight. Lucy confronted Igor, asking how he dared to destroy her house. Igor thought there was no effect. Lucy declared that she wouldn't forgive him, emphasizing her absolute refusal to do so. Other bandits began feeling something strange, and Igor noticed his breathing and heart weren't well. Her gaze caused his head to ache, and his entire body became rigid with fear and negative emotions, making him feel sick. After a while, Igor thought that he was getting used to the situation and simply had to stand up. He attempted to rise, and Lucy remarked that he managed to get up on his own, suggesting that if that's all the trouble, she could handle the remaining bandits. Igor realized there was only one left. Lucy told him that a young person like him shouldn't be accustomed to such thoughts. Igor sensed a change in the atmosphere and asked Lucy if she was hungry. She denied it and expressed anger at him for destroying her house. Igor proposed that if she overlooked it and let him go, he promised not to do anything else. Lucy doubted that and pointed out that if he left her alone, who would help her repair the house and clean up the corpses. Igor understood the situation, realizing that was the reason. Lucy mentioned she wasn't thinking of killing him yet, and offered to let it slide if he agreed to her conditions. Igor, grateful for being saved, expressed a desire not to die yet. Lucy outlined her conditions. First, he had to repair the house he had just destroyed. Second, he had to dispose of his young friend's corpses. Igor agreed to these conditions. Lucy then stated the third condition. He had to let her drink his blood. Igor got shocked and said that if she had done that, he would have become a mummy and died. She said that she would make sure that didn't hurt, and every 10 days would do. Igor said that it was impossible and that it took around 2 days for him to get back to town. Lucy said that she thought he was misunderstanding something. And then Lucy stated the fourth condition, that Igor would be staying with her from that time, and after that, his blood was hers. Lucy said that she didn't want to be misunderstood, so she would be frank. From the first time she saw him, she had always thought he looked tempting, and she could tell that he was not some weird one. She had a few lessons she would like to teach him by herself. And then she hugged him and said, how could a mere child be so composed after witnessing a massacre? He must have endured a lot until then. She told him that he had a sweet scent, and at the moment, he was too warped. She also thought he lacked common sense. How about taking a rest after all that running around? Besides, did you know that blood-sucking and that urge were connected? She asked him why he didn't embrace her. Just that thing stood there. Lucy looked at it and then asked if Igor was the healthy one and if he wanted to enter her that much. Igor seemed embarrassed and was unable to say anything. Lucy thought that this way, he wasn't going to say anything. Then she suggested, let's take the lead from Igor. She took him in her hand and said, let's go. She then put him on the bed and said, just be like a man and use me if you want to use. Igor started doing that to her and she said that it tickled. She told him he didn't have to take it so seriously. His thing looked like it was going to burst out there. Igor thought that he would do that, and then they started doing weird things. After that, Lucy appreciated him and said that with that, he had been able to become a man. Just as she started doing that, she said that they hadn't done it yet. Igor thought that it was a whole other level. Lucy told him that it had been hard again, but he was young, so he could go at it many times. She suggested they have fun. Then, he stood and said that he would make her a mess. Just as some from Igor fell, Lucy said that it was as expected, coming too early, so it wasn't fun. He was still young, so it didn't matter. He thought that next time, he would satisfy her. Then, he did it in another position and asked, what about that one? Lucy replied that it wasn't enough yet. Like that, the 9th round came, and Igor said that he couldn't get up anymore. She told him to do that. After a while, the 12th round came, and Lucy said that it was okay for her. At the 15th round, Igor said to just leave him. Lucy replied that for the last time, she would go hard. After that, she said that she hadn't sucked his blood yet, but he already had the life sucked out of him. Then she saw him sleeping and got close to him to thank him for his blood. Igor thought that on that day, the boy learned about a woman's body for the first time, ironically, with the vampire behind his back, and he slept soundly. The scene transitioned to the next day, where Igor asked about the country, the royal capital, and he thought that it was where the arena was. Lucy said that it wasn't the name of the country and asked if he really didn't know anything. If that person were still alive, he would be sad. Then she told him that she would drill some basic knowledge into him. Igor said that he could live well even without knowing that. Lucy told him that he would get some reward as well. Igor got very excited and said that he would do that. Lucy told him that the world they lived in was called a continent, and in the center of the continent, there was a mountain range that people couldn't reach on foot. There were 2 plains that extended beyond that, and in the east and west, both had the West Plain and Central Plain. She then showed the man and said that there were 2 big powerhouses in the north and south. In the north, it was known as the Union of Alpha, a country that had existed for 500 years. It boasted a large territory and used a federal system. Under the aristocrats, they employed a feudal system, and the population of that area was over 20 million. The military strength ranged from 200,000 to 300,000. In the south, it was known as the Emperor of Galand. The population was over 40 million, and the military strength ranged from 1 million to 3,500,000. Galand was a military country ruled by the emperor, and was booming in development for all sorts of trading, with other countries continuing to merge with them. Then Lucy asked him which country the forest was associated with. Igor said that it was the bottom one. Lucy said that it was the Central Plain, in the rift of the mountain range in the east. Igor thought that it was easier to understand, and the Central Plain was where many small countries waged wars, all forming alliances. Perhaps because of that, it was hard to think of them as a unified nation. Upon closer inspection, that forest was in the Troya Kingdom, a small country with a population of about 300,000. Lucy asked him if he understood everything so far. He said that his head was spinning, but the world was much bigger than he thought, and he understood that. Lucy agreed, saying that walking would help him grasp it, and she wanted him to understand that first and foremost. She mentioned that there were lots of things to learn, and it would be a long journey for a boy like him, who knew nothing aside from fighting. She had made it so far so that she didn't have to mention her intention. Then Lucy cooked soup and added that she made gant with vegetables harvested from the garden. It had been hundreds of years since she had cooked. Eager thanked her and said that he was really very hungry. He then asked her why she wasn't eating anything. Lucy replied that her meal was the blood of him. Eager stared at her, and she asked why he was staring. He replied that he just wanted her to teach him about women that day too. Thus, their strange things began, and sometimes they went through some trouble, but they still lived happily. Eager told her that now he would satisfy her. She said to him that he was 500 years too early to challenge her. That was the first time when Eager really smiled. Several months had already passed by that day, and Eager was in the Orska, willing to hunt down a deer. He used a bow and arrow to hit the deer, then took it home and said to Lucy that he had come back. She asked him if he went hunting again and reminded him that she told him to train his mind rather than his body first. Eager didn't say a single word. Lucy continued, saying that it had been 2 years since then, and he had really grown a lot. Eager thought, what, 2 years? He had been enjoying his life with Cooch, and each day had been peaceful. He shared his regular schedule, waking up in the morning, washing his face, keeping the fire going to prepare breakfast, and then waking up his teacher Lucy. He studied from night until the sun rose. He remembered a day when Lucy told him that they would learn about the cultures and customs of various countries. Eager thought it was strange that a vampire was teaching him about the human world, but he was grateful to her because thanks to her, he was able to learn a lot. Eager thought that when the sky turned white, he plowed the fields to train his body. Before the sun fully rose, he had another training on top of the bed. By doing that, Lucy told him that it wasn't enough to just do that as hard as he could, and he had to aim for the weakness of women. Eager thought that at nighttime, he trained his lower body, and daily he embraced her. She told him that he was getting better at that too. He thought that his chances of success increased by more than 10%, and then he said that he wasn't done yet. Again, they started doing it, and Eager thought that he gained the supremacy of a man as the beauty underneath him enjoyed that. She accepted all of him and praised him when he did well because she was an erotic person to begin with. Then, she started making weird noises and told him that she was coming. Eager thought that he got what he had been lacking earlier, and even at that time, his mind was fully occupied by her. Just as he said to her that he loved her as a mom, she looked at him and affirmed that she was indeed his mother. She asked him to treat his beloved mother well. After that, he went to swing his sword and counted that. Lucy asked him if he was still training and mentioned that he had really gotten muscular. He thought it was because he had been eating well. Then, he asked Lucy if she could spar with him for a bit. She agreed, and she threw him into a river. She came to him and asked if he was all right, instructing him to wash off the dirt before coming inside the house. He thought it was impossible, and he could never test his strength if he sparred with Lucy. Then, Lucy came to the river and expressed her desire to join him. She got close to him, apologized, and mentioned that she sent him flying with just a small push. She acknowledged it was shocking, and he was still a human, so, of course, he would have trouble trying to win against her. He said he was her man and wanted to be strong. She responded by saying he was a man, and he agreed. Then, she started swimming and said she was just kidding, confirming that he was her boyfriend. Then Eager swam to get to her and told her to wait. Lucy challenged him, saying he could do whatever he wanted if he caught her. He tried to swim very fast. Lucy remarked that it was so fun lying under the moon with a boy, and everything was so much fun. Eager told her that he was going to have his fun when he got to her. She wished him good luck. Eager went under the river, and Lucy thought he seemed troubled. She asked if he was okay. Eager emerged from the water and grabbed her. She told him he was so rough, and he replied that if it wasn't him, she could hurt someone. She promised to be careful. After kissing her, he said he didn't need anything else. After a while, Lucy said they couldn't, and he told her that he loved her more than anyone else in the world. He thought about her face that just showed to him. She apologized and suggested they enjoy the rest of the night like that. Eager thought he wanted to spend his entire life with her, and it was okay even if he didn't get out of that forest. He just wanted to live with her happily. However, if he did that, all the things she taught him would become a waste, and just like that, his hope was instantly shattered. One day, Lucy announced that she had nothing else left to teach him. Eager thought that it was the day he had been waiting for. Lucy said to him that it meant he had her permission to leave her home. Eager thought that his heart was beating calmly and they had been together for over 2 years, and he had changed a lot since that time. He could remember all the things that she had taught him, and now was the time to doubt himself. Then he said to Lucy that he understood and would leave that home soon. By grabbing her hand, he said that he wanted her to come with him. He knew that she treasured that place, and even so, he had to ask because he didn't want to be away from her. She started to say something, then stopped, and then she said to him that she was happy to hear that but couldn't agree to it. That was the only place left for her to remember. Eager turned his face, and while crying, he said that he understood. Lucy said to him that he already knew she wouldn't leave that place, and she did give him permission to leave, but she was not kicking him out. Igor asked if that was so and if it would make her happy if he wanted to stay with her. She said that it would not, and she wanted him to live freely and explore the world. That's the exact reason she had been working hard for him. That's fine, and she wanted him to find something to believe in and live on. He should be heading out, and she had already prepared all the things that he needed for his trip. Then she showed him some of the equipment he would be going out with and said that those things belonged to a man whom she ate a long time ago. She was glad that they ended up being useful and mentioned that there were 2 more things. She gave a blade to him and said that it was heavy, but she was sure that he could wield it easily. The other thing was a mantle. He asked if it was made with somethings. She denied and said that it was from her blood, and that it was finally time for him to leave the house. He had changed a lot in the last 2 years, but he still had room to grow. Igor said that she was his whole life, and by kissing her hand, he thanked her. Lucy said that Igor had also passed the lessons on women, and from that time, he would meet and embrace lots of more women. But if he treated others as he treated Lucy, then the others would die, and she would be frank that he had a huge thing. Igor said that he would be honest too and asked if she really wasn't coming with him. She just said that she wasn't coming. Igor thought that it was really the end, and he kissed her. She said to him that she couldn't be with him, but they wouldn't be parting forever. She said to him to become a successful noble, climb the ranks until he becomes the king, and claim that land. After he does so, when he returns, she will be whatever he wants her to be. His wife, his mistress, or even his mother if he wishes. Igor thought that becoming a king was impossible because he was a commoner, but the idea sounded interesting, and he started moving from there. He bid farewell to Lucy, considering her as his mom. Lucy thought that days would pass, and as he became older and realized that death was closer, would he still come back to her? She wouldn't be hoping for him to return. After several days, Igor, walking towards Birth and the Olga Federation, which was further north, had been traveling for the last 4 days. He had bathed daily for the past 2 years, so the smell and sweat were making him uncomfortable. He had to find an inn. That being said, Rollo, the town he was going to stay at, was a modest-sized town with around 3,000 people in population. Then he reached the entrance of Rollo. The guard stopped him and asked his name and the reason for which he wanted to enter. Igor stated his name and mentioned that he was a mercenary. One guard mentioned that Igor was an independent mercenary and asked about the weapon he had. The second guard explained that it was because of the upcoming wolf hunt. Igor asked if he wasn't allowed, and the guard mentioned that normally people paid a silver coin, but entering with an intimidating weapon without a real reason was still not allowed. Igor then showed 1 gold coin and inquired about it. The guards got excited, and one said that Igor would need a spear for the wolf hunt. Igor asked if he could enter, and the guard told him to go ahead. The other guard added that if Igor wanted to kill someone, he had to make sure that no one else would see him. Just then, the captain arrived and asked them both what they were doing. He ordered them to take out what they had put in their pocket. The guard showed him the gold coin. The captain took the coin, apologized to Igor, gave back the gold coin, and then handed a silver coin to the guards, telling them they could buy a meal with it. Igor thanked the captain and asked if it was all right to inquire about the captain's name. The captain said that he just didn't want Igor to think that the town was filled with scum. He then introduced himself as Gray, the captain of the guard's 2nd platoon. Igor thought that Gray seemed like a worthy opponent. Gray asked Igor about the bardach on his back, and Igor mentioned that it was a bardach. Gray asked him what he was planning to do with that monstrosity. Igor explained that he heard there was a wolf hunt going on in the town. He then asked Gray if there was an inn where he could take a bath. Gray informed him that the only baths in the town were in the nobles' houses or brothels. At the very least, there should be an inn where he could get hot water to wipe his body. Gray advised him to hurry and find an inn, as most of them would be packed full, with many mercenaries like him coming to participate in the wolf hunt. Just then, the door opened, and Igor entered. As Igor walked to the market, he realized he only had gold coins with him. The currency was the same for the whole continent, where 1 gold coin was equal to 10 silver coins, and that was equal to 1,000 copper coins. There were also coins worth less. The ratio originated as the exchange rate in the Olga Federation, and since that was the most stable monetary system, other countries started to follow suit. In other words, there were as many coin varieties issued as there were countries, but the weight of metal used was the same. Even if he bought groceries, they wouldn't reach 1 silver coin, so he needed to go to a money exchange first. And then he entered the Miranda company, and there he said that he would like to exchange 5 gold coins for silver. Then, he said that he understood and had to check the coins just in case, so he told Igor to take those out. Igor showed the coins to the man. The man checked that and asked how he came across that coin. Eager thought that he could not say that a vampire girl gave them to him. The man said that Eager went to the demon forest and came back, and that's an exceptional eldest, but if it's from that place, then that would explain that. Eager asked what he meant. The man said that a gold coin made by a kingdom that had long since perished. 400 years ago, there was a large kingdom that ruled the territory encompassed by the Titia kingdom, the Arkland kingdom, and Erg forest was in the vicinity of that capital. That was a coin that was used in that kingdom, and that coin was a historical evidence that the currency had been used since those days. Eager asked if that meant he couldn't use that. The man said that it was right, and the gold ratio was the same, but since it had not been in use for a long time, that may be considered counterfeit. Then, the man asked about that, and if Eager would let the man have that, he could give him 10 royal gold coins in exchange. Eager said that he would just trade 5 normal gold coins that day since that coin carries a special meaning for him. He apologized to the man for taking his time. The man said that it was fine. Eager asked what the name of the kingdom which the man told him about was. The man said that it was not written much in history books, but he was quite confident the name was the Yuktavania kingdom. Eager thought that it was the name of Lucy. The man asked him if there was anything wrong. Eager said that it was nothing and he was now more determined, and that seemed like the fact that he was attracted to a mysterious woman was true. Eager took leave from there, thinking that no matter how many years from that town, he would definitely be king and return to have Lucy. Eager then got to the little bridge down. A lady welcomed him there. Eager said that he wanted to ask her a thing and if they had warm water to wash within that inn. The lady said that they had, but there was an extra charge for that. Eager agreed and asked what the charge for that was. The lady said that it was 45 coppers for a night. She apologized and mentioned that it was the time of wolf hunting, so they raised the price. She also asked him to write his name in the register. Eager wrote there, and the lady said to him that he had neat handwriting. Eager thought that it was because Lucy had told him to write that 10,000 times. Then Eager asked for the name of the lady. The lady said that she was Maria. Eager thought that she was easy on the eyes, and that's a shame with her body. Maria told him that they were short-handed at the moment, so he should buy something from the stall outside if he wanted that. He said that he would do that and then asked if she happened to know what exactly the wolf hunt was. Maria said that she didn't exactly know much about that, but the guards were gathering coaches around the north gate at dawn for some reason. Eager was going out from there, and Maria said to him that she would go and get his room ready and boil the water, so he should eat something. Then he got to eat and thought that the price of a bread and 2 chicken skewers was 3 copper coins, and that's very good. Just a small girl approached him and asked if he had bought tomatoes. Eager thought that all of them were already bruised, and it seemed like the wholesaler sold her the bad tomatoes. Eager recalled Lucy's words that he had to treat all women kindly. Then he said to Rue that he would buy all of that, and he gave the money, asking if it was enough. She said that he really brought them, and then she gave back the change to him. Eager told her to keep the change and buy food for herself with that money. She thanked him. Eager then gave her the tomato and told her to calm down because it was the tomato she sold him, and it wasn't that good. They both started eating it. Eager asked about her name. She said that she was Rue. Eager thought that Rue was dirty and thin but had potential, though it would be several years before he could harvest it. Then Eager went to the inn and was welcomed there. Eager said that compared to that, the one was about rope enough to eat. Maria asked him what that was, and she had already prepared his room, and she would bring his hot water soon. After a while, Eager got into the hot bathtub and said that he was back to life, and he was quite comfortable, so he could stay there for some time. Eager thought that he still had a lot of money that Lucy gave him, and he wouldn't have trouble paying for anything, at least for the time being. He also thought about the wolf hunt. If that's exactly as the name implies, hunting some wolves would be a good warm-up, and after all, he hadn't fought at all for the past 2 years. He decided to do that. The next morning, Maria went to Eager's room, announcing that it was already morning and the wolf hunting was going to start early. Upon seeing him without clothes, she asked him why he was in that situation. He asked her if she wanted to see more. After that, Eager came outside of the inn, thinking that he might meet Rue that day too. Asking for directions from people, Eager reached Gray. Gray told him that, as he thought, Eager was joining too. They all got to the cart and left for the hunting. A man was shocked to hear that it was Eager's first time going wolf hunting. Eager confirmed it, mentioning that he didn't know a single thing about hunting wolves, and he asked the man if he could teach him. Gray reassured him, stating that he thought Eager was a regular and didn't mind, and he would explain things in their own way. Gray explained that the objective was, as the name implies, to hunt down wolves, But the crucial part was that they were hunting wolves that had half turned into monsters. In other words, they were killing hungry wolves. The ones that had become monsters usually acted alone, but they could lead a group of their kind. That's because the other hungry wolves would recognize them as allies and join their group. Due to their strength, they often became the leaders, and most people who tried to fight them were killed. They were known to destroy entire villages. So, before winter arrived, armed mercenaries were sent to the forest in groups to kill these wolves. Gray continued, saying that killing a normal wolf would earn him 50 copper, and if they found nothing until the hunt ended, they would still get 50 copper. However, if they killed a hungry wolf, they would receive at least 2 gold. They would arrive there soon. Eager asked if it was fine for him to hunt alone instead of being in a group. Gray was surprised and stated that no matter how strong he was, going alone wasn't good. Just then, a girl called out and asked if they could talk for a bit. Since Eager was on his own, why didn't he join them? Gray asked what they were going to do, considering they were both women. Eager assured both girls that he would be in their care. He thought that strong men were probably preferable in battle, but if they were going together, there definitely had to be a woman. After all, having a large body nearby made a difference in his fighting spirit. Gray said that if he was fine, then just go. Eager got out of the cart, and the cart left from there. One girl introduced herself as Meyer, a mercenary from Shira village, and her weapon was a sword. Eager thought that she had muscles but was still a beauty. The second girl, Carla, said that she fought with a bow and would run away if an enemy came to her. Eager thought she looked naive and soft. Eager introduced himself, stating that he was an independent mercenary, and his birthplace was unknown. He held the weapon in his hand. Mary commented on the size of the weapon, questioning if he could really swing it. Carla added that he would die if it fell on him. Mary scolded Carla for being sarcastic, mentioning that their previous team split up because of her comments. Mary apologized on behalf of Carla. Eager dismissed it, saying it was nothing. Mary then asked if Eager had really said he didn't know his birthplace. Eager explained that as far as he could remember, he was like a slave, possibly old or kidnapped, but he wasn't sure. Mary apologized for making him recall his past. Eager reassured her, saying it was fine, and after he ran away, he was raised deep in the mountains. Mary commented that he was lucky, and Eager agreed, saying he was indeed fortunate. Carla simply noted that the wolves were there. Eager asked if she had really seen them. Carla replied that the 4 in the center would probably come first, so they should get ready. Eager thought that this was the eyes of a hunter. Soon, the 4 wolves attacked. Mary and Carla, along with Eager, managed to kill them. 2 wolves then attacked Carla from opposite sides, but they successfully killed all of them. Eager put one head of the wolves on his weapon and remarked that they should treasure beautiful women, and then they all finished. Mary mentioned that Eager had saved Carla. Carla pointed out that there were still a lot more wolves, emphasizing their numbers. Eager stated that he could see them, estimating around 50 of them. Mary explained that it was the group led by a hungry wolf. She suggested that she and Eager would track them from the front, while Carla stayed in the back to ensure none of the wolves got close to them. Eager didn't seem normal and claimed that he could protect them both alone. Mary questioned what he was saying, stating that it was impossible for a single person to do. Eager insisted that if things went well, they could talk about it later. Mary commented that he really thought like that, leaving Carla confused. Eager thought that it was his first time using the Bardich in a proper battle, and there was nothing else holding him back. He killed all those wolves, and finally, the hungry wolf appeared. Eager addressed it, saying that it had finally come out. Eager commanded the hungry wolf to come to him, declaring that he wouldn't let it pass and had to protect his woman. The hungry wolf attacked him, but Eager effortlessly divided it into 2 parts. Mary remarked that he killed it in one shot, finding Eager unbelievable. Eager asked Carla to say something, calling her, but she didn't respond. Eager mentioned that he didn't need any thanks, but as promised, they should let him touch them. Mary thought it was a joke, calling Eager a pervert. Carla, however, stated that if Eager was fine with it, she was ready. Mary asked Carla if she was fine, and Eager, without holding back, began the promised action. Carla started making strange sounds. Mary decided to leave and collect fangs while Eager continued with Carla. After a while, Mary questioned if Eager really came, expressing doubt. Eager noticed the cart with Gray approaching. He said that they were all right. Gray examined the dead wolf bodies and praised Eager, stating that he was amazing for defeating the group of hungry wolves. Mary inquired about the other parties. Gray explained that it was terrible, with 20% of those who participated being annihilated, something that had never happened before. He suggested leaving it at that and heading back to town first since some mercenaries were severely injured. Gray mentioned that there were 4 hungry wolves, and he didn't fully understand the situation himself, but all the parties he had picked up had encountered them. Eager commented that it was extravagant. Gray explained that the guards were able to attack and drive the hungry wolves away, but including Eager's party, only 2 wolves were taken down. Eager suggested that if it was like that, the hungry wolf's hide would make a good carry from the next day. Gray agreed, and then a man pointed out that there was a problem. They observed another cart totally destroyed by the hungry wolves. Gray wondered what in the world had happened. Knights approached, explaining that there were hungry wolves, 2 of them at the same time, and they questioned why they were there. Eager thought that the leaders of the packs were working together and there must be something leading them. They noticed one more giant wolf. Eager thought it was huge, the other wolves were large, but this one was exceptionally massive. Everyone expressed concern, saying it was the one from the legends, and they were doomed. Gray tried to calm them down, stating that it was no more than just a ridiculously huge wolf. Eager thought that there were 6 hungry wolves and 1 monster, and although they felt like withdrawing, the wolves weren't that strong either. Some of them started to attack. Eager killed them, stating to the wolves that they couldn't defeat him with that type of attack. Gray instructed everyone to follow his lead. Eager aimed to make sure they didn't die and then killed the 3rd hungry wolf. However, the giant one attacked. People were running away, claiming it was heading towards them, and it was impossible to deal with. Gray urged everyone to fight back and not falter. The giant wolf targeted Gray. Eager intervened, striking the giant wolf and proposed a deal. He suggested that if they made it out alive, Gray would treat him to a brothel. Gray countered, saying he would rather let Eager be with one of his subordinates. Eager responded that if that were the case, dying there wouldn't be so bad. He then instructed everyone to fall back and let him handle the giant wolf. Eager battled the giant wolf. Others said that it was amazing, and he really tore through them. Mary thinks that even when Eager was being countered, he took no damage at all. Eager thought that it was an immeasurable amount of power. The wolf just growled there. Eager thought that it was trying to take him by surprise, but he had been waiting for that moment. He hit the head of the giant wolf, thinking, "What's that?" He couldn't break through its skill. Just as the wolf got to attack Eager, he fell. Mary and Carla ran towards him. Eager thought that he couldn't let her worry about him. After all, he had been planning on inviting her to share the moment with him. He punched the wood, lifted the wolf, and threw it. People were shocked to see that. Eager said that the wolf was really heavy. Then, he hit his weapon on the neck of the wolf. A man said that Eager really killed it. Carla hugged him, saying that he was really strong. Others also appreciated him. Then they started their journey back to the town. Eager said that he was tired and headed back to his inn. Carla said that they were thinking of renting some rooms at his inn as well. Eager returned with all the people, and Rue was with him, telling Maria that he came back. Maria welcomed him and asked how his hunt went. She asked why there were lots more people with him. Then, they all sat there to celebrate, taking the beer as well. After that, they took the tomatoes. Eager took a hot bath and thought that a warm bath after a tiring day was the best. Then, someone knocked on his door. Eager opened it and saw that it was Carla. She asked if she could come in. Eager said that he didn't mind but asked if there was anything specific. She was shy and asked if he really wanted her to say that loudly. Eager assured her there was no need, and he began to undress. Carla thought it was amazing and wondered if it could really fit in her. They proceeded, and Carla mentioned that she didn't have much experience, so he should do it to himself. Eager told her to leave it to him and warned that if she was going to back out after all that, he might force himself on her. He suggested she make him hers, thinking that even though he looked experienced, he had only done that with a single person. They started, and after a while, she got tired. Eager thought it was quick and compared it to Lucy, saying she wouldn't finish that quickly. Carla apologized, mentioning that she finished alone and he could use her however he liked. She was used to that, so he could be a little rough. Eager accepted her offer, and they got together. She asked him not to be too rough. The scene shifted to the next day, and they all gathered except for Carla. Gray informed Eager that he had been waiting for him and needed him to come to the headquarters of the guards. Eager asked if it was about what happened the previous day. Gray confirmed, stating that some people in charge wanted to ask Eager some questions. Mary mentioned that Carla had way too much fun last night, so Mary would be the one going along. They then headed to the headquarters. A man at the headquarters addressed them, acknowledging that they were the ones who achieved an amazing feat the previous day. He mentioned that they took down 4 hungry wolves, including the harlot, and he confirmed this with his own eyes. He showed them the coins, stating that it was the reward for their hard work. Barry seemed happy to see 50 gold coins. Another man questioned the commanding officer, suggesting that it was too much considering the expenses of hiring new guards and compensating the victimized guards and their families. The Baron denied this, stating that it was necessary to repay a mercenary for their results. He insisted that giving an insufficient reward would taint the name of their town. As a recognition of Igor's merit, he announced that Igor would receive 60 gold, and that's all. After receiving that, they all came outside. Baron called Igor and asked him to wait for a while. He went straight to the point, offering Igor to join his guards with double the salary. Igor expressed gratitude for the offer but explained that he planned to travel around the world, so he had to decline. Igor thought that his goal was to become the king of that land, not a simple guard. Baron expressed that it was a shame but understood Igor's decision. He mentioned that he would love to have Igor if he didn't have a wife, acknowledging the adventurous nature of Igor. Igor said that he was glad to hear that, and even though he couldn't accept the offer, he would be happy to help with anything Baron had in mind. Baron then asked if Igor had the chance to visit the villages in the east, would he take care of the bandits rampaging around there? Baron couldn't send his own guards since that place was so far. Igor said that he understood and assured Baron that he would take care of that if he happened to be in that area. And then he moved some steps ahead. There, Gray said to him, "What a shame," expressing his disappointment as he was looking forward to working with Igor. Igor told him not to make him laugh and mentioned that he was going back to spend more time with Carla. He asked Gray when exactly he was going to introduce Igor to those people they promised. Gray replied that he would have his men introduce Igor later, but he added that Igor was really one hell of a womanizer. Igor said that he was still working on that part. And then they got to the inn. There Carla said that she had decided to come with Igor. Barry mentioned that she had only said that to be sure, as they had formed a party solely for hunting. Carla stated that she was already Igor's woman and would undoubtedly accompany him. Besides, she was the type to have deep feelings for the man she lived with, and then she hugged Igor, expressing that she didn't even want to think about parting ways with him. Igor inquired if both of them were sure about the 4 gold each for the reward. Mary affirmed that yes, and pointed out that Igor had done almost all of the job, so the 50 gold for taking down Hardlet should be his alone. Igor showed the 12 gold coins, suggesting to split them into 3 parts, expressing hope that no issues would arise from that. Carla mentioned that she didn't mind as long as he slept with her, and she would accept whatever decision he made. Igor suggested ending that conversation there and, since they were breaking up the party, asked Mary if she was going back home. Mary confirmed it was true, stating that for the past years, she would buy food with her earnings and go home. Her village had a hard time foraging for food when winter came, and the kids would be hungry. Igor inquired about bandits in that area, and Mary denied any issues, explaining that was why she was considering going back. Igor suggested that he and Carla could join Mary to take down the bandits together. Mary asked if he was serious, and if they hurried, they could get there in just 4 days on foot. Igor affirmed, and Mary agreed to the plan, expressing her intention to buy food for all of them. Igor asked Carla about her decision, and she agreed with him, leading to a kiss between them. Mary pointed out that it was still the afternoon, and then suggested to Igor that since he was right, he should go buy weapons and armor. If he could ride, she recommended getting a house while he was at it. Igor admitted that he hadn't ridden any horses. Carla offered to teach him and playfully mentioned that she would be riding him at night, kissing his cheeks. Upon arriving at a shop, the man recognized Igor and mentioned hearing rumors about his military achievements and the reward he received. The man asked why Igor came to that shop. Igor acknowledged the merchant's sharp ear and expressed his interest in seeing knives, specifically those without ornaments and preferably made from steel. The man showed him a variety and inquired about the purpose. Igor replied that he needed them for skinning and other tasks. Carla called Igor and suggested that, since they were going on a trip, they should also buy some medicine. The man at the shop explained that fully fledged medicines were valuable and sold separately, costing quite a lot. Igor stated that he didn't mind the cost. The man showed him a product, mentioning that it was medicinal ointment, and applying it to a wound would promote quick healing. Carla showed Igor something else, suggesting that he should buy it as well, considering he could easily afford it. After placing the item there, she left. The man then explained that it was a contraceptive, costing 1 silver coin. Although made from the sap of a sail tree, it wasn't particularly expensive. When a man gives it to a woman, it carries a special meaning, signifying a physical relationship. Igor pondered on being told that she was just a mistress and that he only wanted her body. He called Carla and informed her that he would buy it, handing it to her. She thanked him and mentioned putting it in food sometime. Igor thought she was a bit of a pervert. Eager then bought 2 daggers, preserved food, medicinal ointment, and a contraceptive. He declared, "Now, let's go buy the horse." The man suggested leaving that to their store, Miranda, which had a track record of supplying war horses to the guards. Eager, accompanied by Carla, arrived at Miranda's store, realizing that he was an amateur with horses and didn't know much about them. Reflecting on horses as living beings, he concluded that they didn't seem to have any spirit. The man clarified that horses didn't have a spirit. Instead, their loyalty and ease of use were prioritized in the mountains, and those with wild temperaments were castrated. Eager inquired about a black horse, and the man pointed to a young horse, mentioning it would be 3 years old that spring. However, he warned that its disposition was too rough, and guards attempting to mount it had been known to fall right off. Eager found the idea of a violent horse interesting. Approaching the horse, Eager made eye contact, sensing that something was bothering the horse. The man suggested not telling him what it was. Eager then instructed Carla to ride that horse. The man questioned a woman riding such a horse, but he agreed to prepare the stirrup. Carla, however, confidently stated that there was no need for that. The horse started running, and the man claimed that there was no way to control it. Another man intervened, mentioning that the once violent horse seemed calmer now. Carla was having fun riding the horse. Eager decided it was his turn and that he should have the stirrups and reins properly attached since it was his first time. Approaching the horse, Eager marveled at the experience, thinking it was amazing and could change the world for him. As he moved the horse, he regretted missing out on such a chance until then. He expressed his desire to buy the horse and inquired about the price. The man stated that the price would be decided once the breeder confirmed some details. Another man approached the horse, but the horse struck him. The shop owner questioned how they could sell a horse like that. Eager, with no prior knowledge of riding, explained that it was simple if they understood what caused the horse to become violent. When asked what that was, Eager revealed it was because the horse didn't want to be mounted by men, and perhaps it enjoyed having Carla's body pressing against him. Both the man and the other onlooker were shocked, and the man asked how Eager managed to mount the horse without being thrown off. Eager explained that before he climbed on the horse, he promised it that Carla would ride daily if he bought it. They then purchased the horse and brought it with them to the inn. Maria noticed the horse and remarked that Eager had brought it this time. She took the horse to its place and asked Eager if he had decided on a name for it. Eager replied that he hadn't decided, and Maria suggested the name Schwarz. And then Maria told him that his current lodging had expired that day, so until when did he want to extend that? He thought that it was right, and he hadn't told her yet. Then he apologized to her and said that there was no need to extend that, and he would be leaving the next morning. Maria became sad and said that so he was leaving, and then she left. Eager asked what that was about. Rue came to Eager and said that so he was there. Then she asked him if he was heading towards the east and, if he didn't mind, could he take her as well with him. She belonged to that area, and it was too dangerous for her to go alone, so she couldn't get to her home. And the wolf hunt was over, so there were fewer caravans around, and it had been a while, so she really wanted to go home. Eager said that she came there by the caravan. Eager asked her if she had family there. Rue said that she had her sister and mother, and it was just that her mother was injured, so she couldn't work well. Then Eager said that he understood and would bring Rue back to her family as it was a man's duty to escort a little girl to meet her mother. Rue became happy and, as she left, she said that she would meet him the next day. Then Eager considered what to do, and maybe he would ask Carla to try something out with him. Mary declined Carla's involvement, and taking Carla away, Mary suggested that they should prepare for the trip the next day. Eager thought that he would go to sleep. Eventually, he went to sleep, and Maria entered his room. Eager reacted by grabbing the knife he had. Maria observed that he was still awake, and he confirmed that he was. Maria mentioned that he was leaving that place, then she sat on his bed and expressed her desire to talk to him more. He asked her to just talk. She commented that he seemed confident, and to be honest, until that time, many people had come to stay there, but there was something special about him. She believed she was attracted to him and wanted him to embrace her. Eager told her that she saw his thing every day. Maria responded that it was enough and that Carla was his lover. Eager clarified that it wasn't like that, but Carla was his woman. Maria accused him of being a despicable man, knowing that she liked him, yet Maria came there on her own, and she still felt bad for Carla. Eager grabbed Maria and mentioned that she brought water to his room. She tried to resist him, but he did something inappropriate, and she seemed to be fine with it. Maria thanked him and said that she was getting used to it from that time. Then, they engaged in that activity, while Carla observed everything from a hiding spot. The next morning, Eager saw a girl very close to him and pondered whether she was brave or had no common sense to be with him when he was with another woman. Despite that, he felt good about it. Maria woke up and greeted him. Eager noticed that the girl in that unusual position was Carla. Carla greeted him too and asked how it was. She apologized and offered him a drink. Maria became embarrassed. After that, they all got ready, and Rue joined them, expressing that she would be in Eager's care. Mary told Rue that she could be with them but didn't have to fall behind. Carla agreed, mentioning that it really mattered now. Eager, with slap marks on his cheek, thought that Mary was strict, but she wouldn't abandon Rue. However, he believed Carla might leave her behind for her own good. Then he noticed Maria and kissed her, promising that he would definitely come back. He told everyone to head out, and then the party headed east. There weren't any couriers east of Trier except for wandering barbarians. Since they had no strategic value and a low productive capacity, they were left unattended. This meant the local lords had decided to abandon them. The roads were challenging, and there were barely any transports around. Eager noticed that Rue was really trying hard but had fallen behind. Eager then put Rue on a horse. Rue protested, saying that letting her ride the horse was too much, and she was okay with being dragged along by a rope. Mary jokingly commented that it looked like Eager was kidnapping Rue. Eager replied that the idea was rejected, but Schwarz seemed fine with it. Eager thought about what a lewd horse Schwarz was and wondered who he took after. As night fell, they set up camp and started cooking food. Mary told Rue that they would be sleeping over there. Rue got to sleep next to Mary. Looking around, she searched to see if anyone was watching, thinking that this way she wouldn't be able to sleep. One morning, Eager and his friends started their journey again. Mary, calling Argry, asked if he had seen something strange there. Eager got confused and asked Carla if she had seen anything. Carla answered that it was just an instant, but there were people. Eager told Carla and Meyer to be on the lookout. He suggested to Rue to curl up and stay quiet. Then, he went to the horse and started moving from there. Carla asked him where he was going. He replied that it would be bad if they shot arrows from the surrounding hills, so he was going on top of the hills to hold them off. He then told his horse to run fast. He thought that it was finally time for him to get into action. He realized that his horse was very fast, and he wondered if it was as if it were born to run. It was probably the first time he got to run around freely, and it felt like his back was laughing in a good mood. And then he found some people there and ran towards them. A man said that Eager had climbed up. When did he do that? Eager asked to let him ask something. Why were they following his group? A man replied, instructing him to leave the luggage and the girl behind and depart from there. Eager refused to comply and attacked them. Noticing the weapons of those people, he thought it seemed like they were farmers. A man warned Eager not to look down at them and questioned what he could do alone. Suddenly, Eager cut the hands of 2 of them, leaving the others shocked. One man started running away, and Eager concluded that he was their leader. He commanded his horse to chase that man and killed him. Eager then ordered the remaining people to leave their weapons and depart, warning that if they fought with him, they would always die. They all followed his orders and fled. Eager thought they lacked courage and needed to grow some balls. Just as the horse made noise, Eager asked Schwarz what it was. He saw his other teammates battling with some people and told Schwarz to help save them. After killing them, Mary commented that they were weak. Another attacker came from behind to target Mary, but Carla intervened with her bow and arrow. The men realized they were surrounded. Eager swiftly beheaded one of the men, shocking the others. He believed he had stopped those threatening the girl, and there were 10 archers among them. He informed his friends that he would leave Rue to them and headed towards the men. One man recognized Eager as the fast one from earlier. Eager engaged in battle with them, instructing them to throw away their weapons and surrender, or he would consider it an act of hostility. They all ran away. Eager thought it was fine for him. He dismounted Schwarz, observed the blood and dead bodies, and remarked that they had to clean it up. Despite his womanizing attitude, he could run pretty fast. He struck his head with Schwarz's and then hit it with his hand. Mary asked what he was doing and if he could be a bit quieter. She showed Rue, still in freezing form. Carla took the head of a man and asked if they could bring it to the village. After that, they went to Shira's village. Meyer welcomed them and went home, bringing food for all the kids. All the kids looked at the bag, and one said that it was very huge. Then an old man, accompanied by another man, approached, excusing themselves. They mentioned that they had heard about the battle with the bandits. Meyer greeted the old man, who explained that, aside from the battle, Meyer was aware that their village was in poor condition, and winter was approaching. It would be enough if they could feed his horse and let him stay in a house somewhere. Meyer agreed, and they assured them they would prepare a place for them to rest. Eager thought the man seemed worried and that he didn't have anything to offer in return. The old man instructed the other man to get others to prepare a feast for Eager. Then he asked Eager to come closer. Eager approached, and the old man mentioned that he was aware Eager was accompanied by a beautiful woman. He suggested that if Eager desired, they could arrange for him to have a harem attend to him that night. Eager asked about the harem, and the man explained that although it was a poor village, they could compensate somewhat. Eager thought about the prices charged at Loray's brothels and proposed 2 silver coins per night. The man was happy to hear that and agreed. Eager asked to be sent any number of women the man thought would be suitable for that amount. They then had a meal, and Carla expressed interest in joining the fun. Cattle started dancing, and things seemed lively. Arrows arrived and apologized for the delay, thanking Eager for the 2 silver coins. Another person commented on Eager's great body and how he could last long, considering he had asked for several women. Eager thought it was great and decided to have some fun with all of them. The scene shifted to another place where a man reported to their lady leader that all the others were killed by one single man. The lady thought it was unforgivable, and the scene returned to Eager, who came outside and drank water from the well. He commented that the water was really good. Meyer approached him, asking if he was fine. Eager laughed, saying that he ensured everyone was satisfied, and they were taking a break. Meyer mentioned that Carla seemed to have fallen in love with Eager, and it had been a while since the village had fresh blood. She guessed that he might have several sons there by next year. Eager then asked about Meyer's plans after that. She replied that the winter of that year seemed to be rough, the stick pile wasn't enough, and the fields weren't looking good either. Some people might die of starvation, which was why she couldn't stay there anymore, and her journey with him was going to end there. Eager got very close to him, and she asked him what he was doing. He told her to let him say that she was a beautiful woman, and even her forged body was beautiful. She got scared and asked him why he was saying that so suddenly, especially since he had done that with 6 other women. Eager asked her if she hated him. She then replied that she liked him, but Carla went ahead of her. Eager showed the small Eager to Meyer, and she said that it was very big. She asked him if she was going to do that, so she wanted him to do it from behind. She asked if he thought she was a filthy woman. He replied that he did, and since they were both perverts, they should continue until they were satisfied. She said that she couldn't handle that, as she was not trained for something like that. He replied that he would do as she had told him earlier. She said, "Let's see who can endure it the longest," and then they started making out. The next day, Arrestor, along with Carla and Rue, arrived at Schwarz. Eager looked at Schwarz and remarked that he didn't seem happy, adding that Schwarz was lucky enough to have 2 women riding him at that moment. Eager then informed everyone that they were heading towards Rue's village and urged them to move. All 6 girls, along with others, were there to bid them farewell. One girl mentioned that the last night was amazing. Another one offered Eager to have some private time with only the 2 of them next time. And yet another blew a flying kiss to Eager. Schwarz became aggressive, and Eager asked if he was going mad, reminding him that Meyer wasn't going with them. Eager considered Schwarz a noisy horse. Eager thought that Meyer was already his woman, and they were only going to separate for a while. They left from there and headed in the direction of Rue's village to the north. They encountered bandits along the way, and after dealing with them, they reached a nameless village. There, they arrived at Rue's house. A girl named Ku introduced herself as Rue's older sister and thanked them for escorting Rue. Eager was pleased to see Ku and imagined that she would be around the age of 15. Someone asked if they had any guests. Rue referred to that lady as her mother and inquired if she was awake. Eager asked Rue if the lady behind the curtain was her mother, and Rue confirmed it, mentioning that her mother's name was Mel. Rue explained that Mel's face was injured, preventing her from coming outside. Eager then expressed his desire to talk to Mel and see her face, apologizing if he seemed rude. Mel apologized in return, mentioning burn scars on her face, and she was afraid he would be disgusted. Eager reassured her, stating that he was sure she was a beautiful woman, and her appearance didn't matter. Ku asked Eager to stop, but Mel insisted it was fine. She opened the curtains, revealing a shockingly scarred face. Carla asked what happened to her face, and Mel explained that she was caught in a bushfire while gathering medicinal grasses. Though her life was saved, she suffered these scars. Mel then asked Eager what he thought and assumed he must be disgusted. Eager replied that it was not true, and it would be a waste to leave her like that. Losing a beauty like Mel in that condition would be a loss for all men around the world, and there was no doubt that Mel was still beautiful. Eager then took out something like a pot. Ku mentioned that it was neckel ointment. Mel confirmed that it was indeed effective for burns, but it was quite expensive. She couldn't imagine that Eager was giving it to her without wanting anything in return. Ku asked what Eager thought of her and Rue. Mel understood the implication and offered her body to Eager. Eager agreed, stating that from the beginning, he was aiming for Mel's body. He then asked about Mel's husband. Mel replied that her husband had passed away 10 years ago. Eager held her hand and asked if, once she returned to her normal form, she would be his woman for just 10 days, not only sleeping but also loving him. He assured her that he would do his best to make her fall for him. Mel expressed skepticism, thinking Eager would sleep with a woman past her prime just for that valuable medicine. Eager acknowledged it and told her to accept them. Mel took off her clothes to reveal the portions of her body that were burned. Eager observed that Mel had suffered severe burns, especially on her right hand, and despite the effectiveness of the medicine, the damage would not fully revert to its original state just by healing the surface. Eager suggested that the only way to recover it was to use a knife to separate the stuck fingers. Ku questioned Eager's intentions with her mother and pleaded with him not to do anything. Mel gestured for Ku to stop and then entrusted herself to Eager. Eager instructed Carla to take Ku and Rue outside. Mel acknowledged that it would hurt a lot, and Eager told her to be prepared. Mel admitted that she wasn't strong in pain, asking for forgiveness if he got upset seeing her in pain. Eager handed her a small rod to bite on and proceeded with the painful procedure, resulting in a cry of agony. Ku and Rue prayed for their mother. After countless attempts, Eager successfully separated all of her fingers, bandaging them afterward. He applied the medicine he had, noting that it would stop the bleeding immediately and would be much better by the next day. The treatment continued regularly, and on the 7th day, Mel felt hot. Eager instructed Keys to fetch water from the river. Upon opening the gate, Eager found Ku lifting a tub of watermelon. He told her not to overdo it and leave everything to him, insisting she go and get some rest. Ku thought he was foolish, and even though she hardly slept. On the morning of the 7th day, the treatment resumed, and everyone was delighted to see Mel returning to her original beauty. Ku commented on Mel getting pretty, and Rue expressed her joy. Eager thought that Mel was indeed a beautiful woman, and he excused himself, suggesting to Carla to go outside for a while. Upon returning, Mel shared her story. She was originally a servant of a local lord and was abandoned when she had a child. The owner of the village saved her, and her husband died in a war. Mel lived in the fields of her house, picking herbs, and she was burned in a fire, leading to her falling into debt. Eager then asked if she could satisfy him with her body if he paid her debt. Ku mentioned that the debt was the debt, and she was prepared for it. Eager assured her to leave everything to him and proceeded to pay off Mel's debt. The people were surprised that a stranger like Eager would do such a thing. Eager got angry and asked if anyone had complaints. The debt was fully refunded, and Eager gave Mel 10 gold coins for her immediate living expenses. She hesitated, but Eager insisted, saying he wanted to do a lot for her and he hoped she liked him a little. Mel wondered why he was so kind, and Eager reiterated that he would make her love him. Mel shared a significant piece of information, mentioning that there were no partitions in the house, so children could see them. She added that they should live openly and love each other. Ku closed Rue's eyes, saying she was fine, and Carla asked Eager if he had forgotten her, giving him some time. Eager and Mel continued their intimate relationship. Mel, having not done so for 10 years, asked for patience. Ku, while closing Rue's eyes, was secretly watching the whole incident. Eager noticed someone watching from the window and asked if it was the neighbor, suggesting giving them a whack. Mel discouraged him, saying they should continue as they were, or it would become a rumor in the whole village. Eager reflected on the intensity of their relationship due to the limited time and explored different locations, including the mountains and open areas, seeking further stimulation. He also welcomed help in the fields during free time. Suddenly, a man arrived, warning about a demon bear approaching. Eager defeated the bear and brought it back to the village, where the villagers started cooking it. Eager inquired why Mel gave all the meat to the villagers. She explained that if they didn't share a big thing with the village, it would create a negative impression. Mel suggested letting all the villagers know about their relationship, seeing it as a good opportunity. She questioned what would happen if she was approached by someone else. Mel still felt the gaze of many men and expressed concerns that if Eager left the village, others might attack her. Eager asked what he should do, and Mel took a piece of meat, putting it on her lips and indicating to Eager. Eager kissed her, making their relationship public. All the villagers witnessed it, and Mel declared that her body and soul belonged to Eager, and that she would never be held by another again. Eager responded that he was forced to, and if there was such a person, he would take him down, dismember him, and eat him. Mel thought it was not good to act in such a terrifying manner, and everyone being afraid of Eager wasn't ideal. A man expressed envy but pointed out that Mel was having a hard time, and it couldn't be intense every day. Mel countered, saying it wasn't true because she, along with Ku and Rue, loved Eager at the same time. Eager clarified that he didn't love children like a pervert, and if they asked Rue and Ku, they were safe. He asked if they didn't think so. The 10 days of the misty month passed like a dream, and the happy time flew by. One day, Eager, along with Schwarz and Carla, prepared to leave. Ku thanked them and asked if Eager would come back to live with her and her mother. Mel was never happier, and Ku needed him. Ku started crying, and Eager felt he couldn't promise her anything because he was a horrible man. But there was something he couldn't give up. Eager told Ku that he didn't know when, but he would come back for her and kissed her. Ku ran away, and Mel told Eager that if he let Ku wait for him, there was a possibility she'd become a grandmother. Eager replied that it was fine, and he only wanted her pure heart. Mel agreed, saying Eager would be her last man, and she would wait for him forever. They said goodbye to Eager. As Eager left, Ku started crying, putting her face on Mel's shoulder. Mel reassured her, saying she was sure Eager would return and that Eager's pastry was in her stomach too. Eager, Carla, and Schwarz headed into a forest. Carla asked if they were going back to L'Oreal. Eager remembered a man and said he wasn't going to do his duty to the captain of the guard without hard evidence of the bandits. Carla suggested she had a good idea where the bandits might set up their nets based on her experience. Eager surveyed the surroundings, looking for high spots with a wide view of the road, potential camping spots in the forest, and ideal locations for the bandits to camp. Continuing further, he noticed smoke in the sky, suspecting it was from a campfire. He told Schwarz to wait for them, and Eager, with Carla, followed the direction of the fire. They found a large group of men, and Carla suggested breaking them up into smaller groups. Eager noticed a woman among them, and Carla, while unsure why the woman was there, emphasized that it wasn't the most important thing. Eager considered the possibility that she might be the leader and decided that he didn't have to kill her, expressing his intention to make out with her. Carla questioned what he was talking about, and Eager admitted he wasn't sure what to do. Just his leg struck with the rope there. Carla said that it's a trap. By struggling with the rope, there were some kids which started making sound. All the people heard that. The lady asked who they were, just surrender them and don't let them get away. Eager with Carla came outside, and they were surrounded by all those men. Eager thinks that it was very fast and then his own army couldn't have done that. A man said to the lady that the boy there was the one who did all that work, their other teammates, and that sent there was no reinforcement enemy nearby, so it was only them. A man asked the last, Claire, what should they do? Claire replied just like then, and they could eat 3 lists there, but they didn't have to hurt her. Claire said to Eager that if he resists, he will die. Eager replied that it was too bad, and he was not ready to die yet. Eager thinks about how he could get Core breeding him, and if they didn't break through the enclosure, they were not going to have a chance. And then he saw a big man and thinks that he was heading towards them and seems a tough opponent, and even if they hit that guy, left side with the shields, he will probably move that guy to attack him. Eager just ran towards the back and thinks that he will cut through the rear, and then he cuts the head of those men who were in the back, and then Eager kicked one as well. One just captured Carla, but Carla used her activeness and got out of the capture, and then she started using her bow and arrow to kill them. Eager thinks that it was good, and Carla gets to a safe distance. 2 of the men get to attack Eager from behind, but just Eager found them and attacked them back. Some of them started attacking him at once, but he battled them all alone. He just heard the voice of Carla, and as he saw, he gets that some of them were grabbing Carla. One said to Carla that he grabbed her, so just stay down. Eager thinks that it was bad. Another man said to Carla that he would make her feel comfortable, and another one said that Carla's hands were so soft. Cattle told them not to touch her hand. Just Schwarz came there and good to those 2 men. Cattle got on Schwarz and went from there. Eager thinks that it was good, and now he would be able to fight without taking and worrying about her. And then he started killing them all and asked them all why they weren't attacking, and he was the only enemy there. One man said that it seemed like he was the monster, but they had never heard of him. Claire asked all the men why they were afraid of one man. Then the big man said that he would do it, and Claire didn't have to go there. And then the man got in front of Eager and said that he would take care of that and asked Eager if he was a knight. Eager replied that he was a mercenary, and the man was the one who didn't look like a peasant. The man replied that he was a knight in the past, and then he greeted to attack Eager. Eager thinks that it was very fast that he couldn't avoid that, but he blocked it. But it felt so heavy and it was not good to be passive. He was not going to let the man get away with that. And then he struck down and struck up, then cleaved and spun striking down. He realized that the man blocked his attacks, and it was the first time he had a series of attacks blocked. And that wasn't a massacre but a duel. The man thought about the power Eager had, and his sword couldn't hold that. Eager thought to strike the tip of the sword, and then Eager broke that sword. But suddenly the man took out a different weapon and put that inside Eager. The man considered Eager an idiot and said that the sword was stuck. Eager said that the cloak was specially made so the blade couldn't penetrate that, and the reason it couldn't be moved was simply because of the difference in arm strength, and he knew that the man was strong. The man thought that he was even strong, but Archit was stronger than him. Just Eager cut off the head of that man. Other men got scared and ran away from there. Claire tried to attack Eager, but Eager made her weapon fall and he hit her. She suddenly apologized to him. He said that the sword was pretty sharp. Eager said that he didn't know what he was going to do, and if he handed her over to the guards, the bandit would be executed. And then Carla with Schwarz came there. Claire said not to kill her. Eager said to just tell him what happened, and he would think about it if he had to. And then she told everything to them, and after that, Archit said that she was the daughter of an aristocrat from a small country. Her country was dwindling, her parents were dead, and a knight under her father's command rescued her as a baby and raised her. Carla said that she was sure they had heard of that, and that was a common tale in that war-torn world. Claire said that she couldn't forget. Eager said to her that he knew how she felt, and he had seen the world with his own eyes, and he had a lot of things to do. Claire asked him if he understood her, so just let her go. Eager said that he had a request, and she must never work as a bandit again. She couldn't be innocent of any wrongdoing, and she needed to be punished. Cattle said to Eager that he was being rude. Then Claire asked what punishment, and she thought that there was no way she had hurt an arm. Just Carla made Claire lie upside down, and by apologizing to Claire, Carla said to be calm. And then Carla said to Eager to use what Archit had said, that she was a pervert, and he was punishing her. Claire, by making out, said to just stop doing it in that position. Eager said that it was higher from within, and that's good. She replied that she couldn't care about that, and she couldn't wait for him to finish. And then the scene transitions to the next morning. Eager said that he would let her go soon, and that wasn't the first time she was doing that. Eager pointed towards a person and asked if that man was her boyfriend. She agreed and said that the man was part of their old family too. Eager asked if she could hate him. She said that they brought cattle red in battle, and she couldn't blame him, but she hated him. Most of all, she couldn't forgive herself for being helped by the man who killed them. Eager then asked about her future plans. Was that all? Claire replied that she was going to try to cross over to the Republic of Stora across the river. That was a prosperous trade zone, and she was going to make some money out of nothing by doing business or anything else. Eager thought that Claire seemed to have a mind to live by herself. He then said to her that he wasn't going to say anything to the guards. Just as Claire was going away from there, Eager called her and gave her a pouch of water, food, and gold from the camp. Claire thanked Eager and asked if it was possible for her to take the head of her boyfriend. Eager denied that by saying that he needed proof that they defeated the bandits. Carla said to Claire that she should be thankful that she was alive. Eager said that he was glad Claire was feeling better, so just take care of herself. And then Eager went to the headquarters of the Losail guards. The head asked him what's that here and rested the steel man Ash. The man said that he didn't have any idea that Ash was leading a band of thieves, and he was sure that Ash was the toughest one. And then he got happy and said that he wasn't going to let Eager go away without anything, and he had been looking for him for a while. Eager said that he only repaid his debt and he was going to leave for the north again soon. The man asked if he wasn't going to be hired by Arkland. Eager thought that both Trier and Arkland Kingdom were at stake. Just he denied that and said that he was planning to enter the Volga Federation. The man got normal and said that it was all covered with snow and water in the Commonwealth. Eager said that it would be nice. The man replied that so he didn't have any other choice. And as Eager did as he promised, he was rewarded with 100 gold. Eager thought that it was a lot of money. The man said that there was nothing special about that, and Ash was once hired by the Ackland to kill some of the knights of the man, and therefore, his bounty was 50 gold pieces and not 50 was for defeating the bandits. The man continued that Murrant and the other merchants would pay for the bandits so that it wouldn't hurt the town's finances. And just feel free to put that towards the street bank. And the Federation was cold. And then, by taking the reward, Eager meets the man whom he met the last time. Eager thinks that Cattle hadn't said a word since earlier, and Eager thinks they had sensed that. And then Eager goes to the inn to meet Maria. By hugging her, he said that he missed her a lot. And then Eager said to Carla and Maria that he was going north with Schwarz the next day, and he was going to make it to the Federation. And that wasn't going to be a long trip, and also dangerous, so he wanted to go alone because he didn't want them to go. Carla said that she didn't, and if she had to follow him to his death, so be it. Eager said that it was his problem, and he didn't want her to go, whether she wanted to or not, and he would keep a room for Carla there, as long as he left alone for his own reasons. He couldn't let her have trouble finding a place to live or eat. Eager asked Maria what the cost of room and food for a whole year was. Cattle told him to wait because she still wasn't convinced. Eager said that he would convince her on the bed, and he would pay a little extra for 400 days of lodging and food, so he told Maria to take care of Carla for him, and she was always missing something. And then they went to the grandest room of the inn. Eager told Carla to just come, and he was going to use the thing he had to make her convinced. Eager said that she knew he was going to go crazy anyway, so she would just test him, and if he didn't agree, she would do with him. No matter what happened, he had to come within 400 days. Eager said that it was a strange revenge, and he asked why if he was going to leave her. She replied that if he didn't come back before that time, she would welcome him with a stomach that was swollen from being beat around by men. Eager said that it was a strange revenge, and again Eager asked what if he was going to leave her. She replied that if he wanted to hear, so they left Mel and the others, and she reminded Eager that he had a lot of fun with all those girls. Just Maria came with hot water and towels. Eager thanked her and said that they had been making love all that day, so just come to Seshazari after work. Carla said that she didn't know what was going to happen if he left her for a whole year, and women were also careful not to cheat on their husbands. Eager thinks that if she wants to, she could, and he will just take that back when he came back. And at night, Maria came to the room of Eager, saying that she had completed her work. She just saw that Eager was making out with Carla. Carla said that it was so intense and Eager's thing was good, so just look at her and she couldn't wait to see what she was going to do. Maria was staring at them, and on that day, the three made love with each other a lot. And Carla showed them how perverted she was, and Eager was surprised to see that. He didn't think he needed to tell them about that. The next morning, Eager got ready, but Maria and Cattle were still lying on the bed, both very exhausted. Maria told him to be safe. After that, Archie got on Schwarz and said, "Let's go." As they went, Schwarz made some noise, and Eager asked if Schwarz was wondering where the women had gone. Eager reassured him not to worry and that they would have a relationship in the future. He thought about departing to Kitakami, the town of Lariel. Eager reached the border of Arkland, where Trier and Arkland fought with each other, but the barrier was cleared without difficulty. It seemed that the closure of the border in peacetime was by gentleman's agreement. Gant looked like the kingdom of Arkland was probably a place where mythical relics remained, but subsequent research revealed that there was no basis for that. Trier had a lower population, put a lot of effort into the military, and had a big lead in military strength. All of this Eager had learned from Lucy. There were many soldiers in the town, but due to heavy taxes, the people were poor, and the town was deserted. He didn't think there was anything interesting to see. Similar circumstances occurred in a village in the north. Eager met a lady there, and she asked how he was traveling and if he could hold her with 30 bronze coins. He asked if she was a whore. He thought that she didn't have any children, and since her husband was poor in military service, it wasn't usual for girls and children to sell themselves for a living. Eager said that he hadn't heard such a story. After a while, she was shocked to hear a silver coin, and she asked if that was fine, but her body wasn't special. Eager, by doing that, thought that it wasn't a body that induces such desire. However, he drank, and that smile came off his face. She was such a pretty woman, and he ended up having fun until the second round. The next morning, the lady apologized for having him cook breakfast and had him divide the ingredients, and she still had soup and bread. He thanked her, saying that it was enough, and as he went outside, he told her to eat the rest as she liked. He then saw a very poor child outside, and Archie thought that it might be possible that the child was the son of that lady. Eager got on Schwarz, and as he left, he thought that the woman was nice but stuck in a gloomy country, and there seemed to be nothing more to look at. A few days later, in the north rural area, Eager saw lots of people. Someone said to just exchange that thing for them, and another one said to just keep up the tax on his son. Eager thought there were around hundreds of farmers, and he hoped that they didn't head in the direction of the royal capital, asking for a return on their military service, considering how poor they were. Eager didn't think the conversation would be successful with poor farmland. It was even more dangerous if the army came out to suppress them. Did they look for as much distance as possible? Just then, some military people arrived. The farmers were shocked to see them. The general of the military said it was a cavalry procession and to suppress all those who broke the kingdom's rules. Eager had a bad feeling about those farmers. A mixed unit of archers and infantry assisted on both wings, with around 50 cavalry in the center. The military people started drafting the farmers. Eager thought the farmers were helpless and it was a waste. They should not kill a woman, but they could have tried to persuade her. Two of them came to ask Eager if he was a party to this. Eager replied that he was only a single traveler, not an accomplice. The soldiers looked at Archit's belongings, saying that Eager was lying. Eager simply denied it and attacked them. Their leader wondered if he was the leader of those farmers, and they formed a line with archers ready to attack him. Eager thought that if the arrows might hit Schwarz's legs, he would lose a leg, and he didn't have to wait until then. He had only one way, so he started heading towards them to battle. The leader ordered all soldiers to quickly hit the horse's legs. Eager thought they were foolish to use long spears in a fierce battle, and he used his weapon to cut all the spears of the soldiers. He jumped into the group, thinking that all these people were only good enemies. Eager got bloodied a lot but was killing them all. He got a wound, but it wasn't fatal, so he could still move. After a while, Schwarz got tired, but they managed to break through a little more. Two people watched, wondering who the man was battling them all alone. One man said that those cavalries were being played around by a guy. Just a man fell, and those two wondered if that man was the commander of all of them, and it seemed like he was completely lost. The man brought about to stab through the armor and helmet, something a human wouldn't be able to do. The second one said that it looked like he would break through them all. They watched as Eager passed through them. One of the three, the other two, said that the direction in which Eager was going was towards their country, so they both had to report that immediately. The second one said that he would go with the horse, so just pray that they wouldn't have to fight him. And then he left. The scene shifts to a few days later in the royal capital of Gordonia Kingdom, Gordonia. Eager goes to the scales of encounter and tells a lady that he needs a room and he will pay in advance. She asks if he's injured, and if he is, she will take care of all his belongings. Eager tells her to do as she likes, and then he lies on the bed, thinking that his body's toughness saved him from a deeper wound. And it didn't reach his organs thanks to his muscles and armor. Gordonia Kingdom is a leading nation in the center with a population of around 1,500,000 people. The capital city, Gordonia, has around 60,000 people, and despite conflicts near the border, the country itself is stable. Eager only eats meat, drinks medicine, and sleeps, repeating these actions. He realizes that he has used up all the medicine for Mel, and is now taking a different one. He has been in the city for days, and currently, he is able to move his body. A girl comes into his room, and Eager looks at her but can't see her clearly due to the darkness. He wonders if she's a kid or a girl and checks his things, realizing his wallet is missing. The girl gets into an attacking position. Eager stands and remarks that this must be his rehabilitation, telling her to come. She attacks him with a knife, and Eager acknowledges its sharpness, realizing that if he lets his guard down, she might chop off his neck. He makes the knife fall from her hand and brings her down. Eager remarks that he thinks she's a kid and asks for her name. She tries to free herself, and Eager tells her it's useless. He asks if she can speak or if she wants to get kicked by him. She replies that her name is Suzu. Eager asks if her name is Suzu. She replied that it was because her hair was full of spots, and her objective was to earn money. She had to do that because she received orders from her boss. Eager asked who ordered her, and she replied that it was Miguel. If she didn't have any money, she would be beaten up by him. Eager asked her to tell him in detail, and she explained that Miguel, a fatty man, asked some small girls why they only had 5 coins that day and needed to have at least 3 pieces left. He took them to earn money through pickpocketing or stealing, and they would get punished if they didn't. Suzu had only 1 coin, and she asked Miguel to consider it as the boy's quota. Initially happy, Miguel suddenly punished her for giving a defiant look. Suzu stopped providing details, and Eager didn't like that. She mentioned being thrown away, but Eager realized she might have been kidnapped. Using children to earn money was a crime, and they had to do it because they were ordered to. They used the stolen money for themselves, and Eager guessed those thoughts never crossed their minds. He asked her if she was fine with that and if she didn't want to eat good food and live as she wanted. She replied that she didn't know how to do that and couldn't do such things. Eager encouraged her to think about whether she wanted that or not. She asked if there was any better life for her, and Eager replied that there was a limitless better life. She said that she was ill-suited for that and whether he liked it or not, she couldn't do it. Eager told her to try to push him away or persuade him. If she couldn't, she could scream. She punched him and freed herself. Eager threw the knife towards her, but it landed next to her. He told her it was as she wished and gave her the knife. He said she could use it to attack him, sell it to gain money, or cut the chain. She took the knife and left. Eager went to sleep, realizing he hadn't washed his body yet and thinking she would be a nice woman if she was polished well. Suzu went to Miguel, who asked if she had any money and if she got tired of being beaten. She told him she would explain, but Miguel ignored her. Suzu hit Miguel's hand, then cut off his head. After a while, she went to Eager through the window of his room. Eager woke up, noticing the blood on her body, and asked if she cut the chain. She replied that the chain was more dangerous than she thought. After a while, Eager commented on her ability to dodge the sword attacks. Suzu said it was her first time moving as she wished. She didn't want to stay with that guy and wanted to kill him. Eager hugged her, reassured her, and said that the guy was scum, he would recognize her actions. She asked if she really had such value, and Eager agreed, saying she could move well and was a cute girl with value. Suzu then expressed her desire for Eager to dominate her. Eager asked, what? Syria replied that she had been living by being dominated, so she didn't know how to live by herself. Eager said that it was different, and she had just cut off the chain. She explained that she had broken her life before using that knife, and Eager had the responsibility to guide her to a new life. She didn't have any relatives, ate trash, and had been swept away by the community, and she didn't want that type of life anymore. Also, Eager was different from Miguel because he saved her, and that's what she felt. She didn't mind being dominated by him, and she asked if that wasn't her will. Eager expressed concern, saying that she might die if she stuck with him. She replied that she didn't mind. Eager then introduced himself and suggested that he should give her a name because Suzu didn't seem like the name of a human. He proposed the name Syria for her, and from that day, she would be known as Syria. She was happy to receive that name from him. Eager thought that it was the name of a girl he met at the meat shop. He then mentioned that he had to carry a kid and was uncomfortable with the term slave, so she would be good as his subordinate. She agreed, saying she would do her best and asked for his orders. Eager thought that she seemed in the pilot form. He ordered her to go and wash herself, and she went to do that. Eager returned home, giving her something and suggesting she make sure her long hair wouldn't be in her ear. He brought a bunch of hairbands and helped her wear one in a correct way. He said it was wrong at first but then fixed it and mentioned that he was fully recovered, so let's get to the wine. She said she was coming with him. Eager then crushed some walnuts and thought that it had been 10 days since Syria came there, and his wounds were almost healed. He thanked Syria for her nursing. Syria said it was obvious for her to be useful to him. Eager thought that the fact that he could fully recover without any problems was thanks to her, even though she lacked common sense. Syria then brought some rats and said that she brought fingers and now she was going to take her shower. Eager commented that the day would be the last day they would be in that town, and he asked if she was okay with going to the intense cold federal. She agreed and mentioned that she brought a lot of clothes and blankets, so they would definitely survive, but there was still the matter of those equipments. Eager said that he guessed they were too big for her, and he managed to strip the sword from a certain woman burglar. Then, she slashed her sword there. Eager thought that she was not familiar with any technique yet, but she did possess an extraordinary sense of swordsmanship. He suggested that they go and drink somewhere on the night before they depart. They went to the Hard Boil, where a man welcomed them. Eager ordered spirits, and Syria requested mead. Eager advised her not to push herself, as it would be a disaster like before. Syria assured him that she wouldn't make such disgraceful behavior anymore. The man advised her to take it easy and not force herself to drink too much, as it was pretty awful last time. Eager reminisced about the past, mentioning that no matter how much she drank, her expression didn't change, but suddenly she fell there. The man then served Syria some fried honey cookies and suggested she just have those. She protested, saying not to treat her like a kid, but she took a bite and continued eating. The man mentioned that Syria had been wanting to see how the intense cold Olga was. Eager confirmed that she wanted to go to the Federal. The man suggested that if they insisted on going, they should follow the Nostries Lake, as it was better than facing the cold, and they could use a boat. Eager said that the boat was quite good, but he also wanted to go to the north of the Federal. The man strongly advised against it, warning them not to go against the snowstorm, as they wouldn't last long. He recommended going through the safe way using a boat, showed them some clothes to use, and mentioned that he also used them when he was in the Federal. If Syria got scratched in anything, it would be shameful. Eager owed the man. Eager wondered if Andley was the name of that man. Andley mentioned that he migrated from the Federal and opened that bar, and he was a very amazing guy. Suddenly, a small girl came there calling Andley and said that it was time to close the door. Eager looked at the girl and asked if she was Andley's daughter, mentioning that she seemed very cute. Andley corrected him, saying that the girl was his wife. Eager thought that the girl was still younger than Syria, and it seemed that Andley was very perverted. Syria called Eager, suggesting they get back to the inn. Two men approached them, apologizing for the interruption. Syria took out her knife, but the men assured them they weren't suspicious and wanted to talk. Eager found it suspicious to have a conversation in the middle of the night. The first man identified himself as a mercenary from the group Wings of Dawn, expressing respect for Eager's skills. Eager found their sudden knowledge about him suspicious and questioned their motives. The first man explained that they were working for a certain nobleman and were known as mercenary recruiters in public. They offered Eager to join their team and lend his strength to them. Eager was skeptical, questioning their sudden interest in him. The second man clarified that they highly appraised Eager's skills and believed he would be a valuable addition to their group. Eager wondered if they were telling the truth, considering their timing, as he was planning to leave the country the next day. The men understood Eager's skepticism but emphasized that they were sincere. Eager decided that their story was too good to be true, and he questioned their motives. The men accepted Eager's decision, expressing hope that he would reconsider and join them in the future. As they left, one of the men suggested that if Eager aimed for something higher, it would be a good opportunity. Eager and Syria returned to the inn. Eager reflected on the encounter, thinking that the men didn't seem dangerous, but their movements left no openings. He wondered about their true intentions and considered the possibility that political authority might be part of their objective. Syria looked at him and asked if he was having any problems, assuring him that no matter what he would do, she would always be by his side. He patted her head and remarked that not only was he cute, but also considerate. Then, Syria inquired whether they should share a bed if he allowed. Eager simply denied that proposal. He then contemplated forgetting about the two other men and thought that they would pass each other again someday. The next day, he, Schwarz, and Syria left the place. Syria told Eager that they shouldn't do that, expressing concern that if she rode the horse too, it would get tired. He assured her that she didn't have to worry, but still, it was getting colder. They entered a large forest spanning over 100 kilometers, located at the federal border. Eager mentioned that their vision on the left and right was limited, and bandits often emerged out of nowhere. Syria asserted that if it came to it, she would fight as well. Eager then put something in Syria's mouth, telling her to enjoy some sweets. He thought that when he finally fully raised her, he would cherish her. At night, they reached the post station on the highway. Eager asked if they had rooms. After getting a room, Eager suggested to Syria that they should go to the lobby to eat something, as post stations often provided shared rooms where travelers could share information. A man informed them that a wandering mercenary named Rouge had arrived. Eager inquired about Rouge's activities, and Rouge replied that the goods he had were human. Eager suspected he was a slave merchant and wondered if it was legal there. Eager noticed a lady before Rouge, thinking she was very huge, a sight he hadn't seen before. Rouge introduced her as the first-rate maiden and mentioned a price of 100 gold if Eager wanted to buy her. Eager considered the money and wondered if he could afford it, but hesitated to make a decision. Rouge explained that the nobleman couldn't get enough of the lady, but there were more available for a price. He showed some more women, stating they hadn't engaged in such activities, and offered them for 50 gold each. Eager found them beautiful but thought no differently from his feelings for Nuna, the first lady. He expressed to Rouge that he shouldn't involve himself in such things and sympathized with the sad-looking women who couldn't do what they wanted due to their enslaved status. Rouge lamented the missed opportunity. Eager sensed Syria's growing anger, decided not to intervene, and waited for a chance to act. Another man approached Rouge, proposing a deal without using gold but offering protection with a weapon. Rouge told a giant man to kick the man outside, rejecting the proposal. Eager then urged Syria to leave the place, and they went to the bedroom. Concerned about potential troublemakers, Eager asked if Syria would share his bed, to which she agreed. He hugged her and remarked on the warmth of children. Syria reciprocated the hug, and Eager questioned why his body responded to her touch despite not having any recent intimate encounters. Eager made a loud sound, pondering Schwarz's situation and deciding to leave him alone, even as horses made more noise. Eager, accompanied by more people, arrived, and someone suggested they might be under enemy attack. Eager observed around 10 people surrounding them and prepared for a tough battle. Introducing himself to a man named Bruno, Eager admired Bruno's impressive sword. Rouge mentioned his inability to fight but had a giant slave named Mac. Gondo assured everyone not to worry as he had fought countless battles. Eager kicked Gondo, realizing that only he, Bruno, and the slave could truly fight. He wondered how many would survive and considered his responsibility to protect himself, Syria, and the other girls, recognizing them as treasures. A man suggested that they had the advantage in numbers, while another proposed waiting for dawn. Eager dismissed waiting and suggested using fire to roast their enemies alive. A fire was ignited, but Rouge warned that they would all be burned. He instructed the slave to open the door quickly. Eager, recalling his earlier conversation with Gondo, called him over. Gondo denied remembering, and Eager, along with Bruno, threw Gondo out of the door as arrows and swords struck him, resulting in his death. Eager seized the opportunity and, alongside Bruno, started killing their assailants. More enemies approached, but the battle continued with Mac using a table as a weapon. Eager was pleased to see Mac's strength. Some enemies headed toward the women and Rouge, and Eager swiftly intervened, cutting down an attacker to protect Syria. He praised Syria's efforts and asked Mac if he had defeated all the enemies. Bruno reported that he had finished his share as well. Igor downplayed Bruno's achievement, claiming he took down 3 enemies on his own. Bruno speculated that the attackers came from the east, likely looting iron weapons along the way. Igor inquired about survivors, learning that the merchant had passed away. Mac admitted to hitting Rouge with the table. Igor questioned if Mac owed anything to Rouge, and Mac denied any obligation. Igor decided to act quickly, acknowledging Mac's bravery in protecting valuable items and stating it wouldn't be right for him to die for the vile institution of slavery. They threw Rouge's body into the fire, and Igor claimed that the barbarians had startled him, causing him to faint. Bruno added that Rouge tragically burned to death in the fire, freeing all the slaves. According to the law, the merchant's belongings should have gone to his family, but the barbarians took everything. Bruno mentioned he would report the attack on the inn to the army. Igor asked Bruno about his plans, and Bruno revealed he was heading towards the Gordonia kingdom. Igor shared that he was going to the Federation, allowing the survivors to choose their preferred destination. Mac expressed a desire to go to the Gordonia kingdom, while a lady and others opted to join Igor, considering the Federation their home. Igor reflected on bringing them to the Federation and agreed to meet Bruno later, though Bruno felt it wasn't a fair deal. The next day, Igor was prepared with a cart, grateful that the slave merchant's carriage hadn't burned. Igor intended to take it with him, mentioning that the merchant had 40 gold coins, which they could all share. Bruno suggested that Igor keep half of the money, considering the challenge of looking after 3 women in the middle of winter. Igor thought highly of Bruno, believing he would be popular with the ladies. Igor inquired about Bruno's plans in Gordonia, and Bruno, being a mercenary, mentioned he had a significant job with great pay lined up, though he couldn't disclose the details. Igor speculated if this job was related to the 2 individuals who had previously offered him to join their force. Bruno and Mac then bid farewell, and Igor felt confident they would meet again. Turning to the girls, Igor noted it would be a long journey and asked for their names. They introduced themselves, and Igor questioned why they had been slaves. Arisa explained she was from a small town. Colette mentioned being kidnapped by bandits in the eastern part of the Federation due to poor security in her farming village, and Syria signaled their readiness to leave. Igor agreed and offered to drop them off at their respective homes if they wished. Arisa hesitated, and Igor realized the Federation was much larger than the Central Plains, making the journey north more than a month. He also recognized another issue. It had been too long since he had been with a woman, and the prospect of a lengthy journey posed a challenge to his self-control. He then told them all that he wanted to make it clear he was helping them because he desired to spend the entire night with them. He asked if they would agree with that. They all got scared upon hearing this. Arisa apologized to him and mentioned that Colette had been through a lot and had been treated badly. Arisa promised to do whatever it took to spare Colette. Nuna called and assured that she would also do her part. He looked at Nuna, thinking that her eyes were different from the other 2. She showed no fear of the impending events, and her eyes were both beautiful and menacing. He couldn't help but wonder about the reasons behind her demeanor. She was extremely beautiful, and he was sure that being intimate with her would be amazing. However, he was afraid that if he did, her eyes would remain dark forever, and he couldn't bring himself to do that to someone so gloomy. Then, they all got into the cart and left. They talked, and the 2 of them shared their experiences, which were very disgusting. After Colette and Arisa were abducted, everything, including their clothes, was taken, and they were sold to slavers. They were forced to learn how to please to increase their price and made to service the slavers every day. Igor thought about how glad he was that he threw that slavery into the fire. Colette said that they were spoiled and dirty. Korea mentioned that even if they made it back home, they were already filthy. Igor apologized to them both, saying that he didn't think they were dirty, and if they still felt that way, they could wash themselves and be clean. He hugged them both, stating that they should die for what they learned, and there was nothing wrong with being good at it. He questioned what was wrong with them and who cared about the past, encouraging them to leave it behind. Igor slept with them, and Syria said that it really wore them out, causing them to cry themselves to sleep. She believed they had finally found some peace of mind. Igor called Syria and apologized for making her drive the entire time. Syria reassured him, saying she didn't have to do much and mostly just watched Schwarz, who was handling things alone. Igor asked Nuna how she was, and she replied that she was fine, as she wasn't abducted by bandits, so her experience wasn't as bad. Syria mentioned that they were exiting the woods and had arrived at the Olga Federation. Igor remarked that it must be cold there, noticing the snow on their way. Their journey began at that moment. Syria approached Schwarz, noting that the travel felt swift as the wind. Eager thought that the crying had indeed calmed them down and suggested that Arisa should give him a ride, expressing confidence that Schwarz could handle both of them. Nana voiced concern about the two of them riding together, but Eager reassured her, saying it was not dangerous, and the horse would not shake off a woman. The journey continued as the cold intensified, covering the entire landscape in a thick layer of snow. They encountered a man who informed them that it was a short walk in that direction, but taking the carriage would require 2 days on the roads. Colette mentioned they were very close to their hometown. Syria expressed doubt that she would live to see her family again. Colette praised Eager as a really good boy. Arisa added that lately he had been staring at her things a lot. But still, they reached Electra City, and there they saw the North Tellys River. Eager exclaimed that it was so amazing and vast, he couldn't even see the other side of the river. As they observed, they noticed a shop that was so big it seemed like a mountain with a cloth covering it. Eager could understand why Lucy had asked him to see the world. Eager then spotted Nana and thought that she had refused to enter the city. To put it bluntly, it was her hometown, and she didn't want to see her family who had sold her. Nana then showed them a ration delivery ship known as the Tangerine, and if they wanted to sell their carriage, there was a store over there. Eager thought that it was right, it was her hometown. They noticed a bar and decided to have some drinks. Nana mentioned that she was heading back to the inn, so they both enjoyed themselves. Syria expressed that she didn't want to see Nana's face. Later, they entered the bar, and a man asked if it was their first time in the city. Eager confirmed that it was. The man explained that the city, which had prospered for over 200 years, was changing its name due to an incident involving treason. Eager inquired about the details, and the man mentioned an incident where the ruling family was charged with treason, and the rebellion was suppressed. He added that the name should have lasted for generations but was changed. After all that, Eager and Syria went back to the inn, where Syria was already sleeping. Eager looked at her face while she slept and then asked Nana if this was her hometown. He learned that the government was changing the city's name because it wasn't convenient to be named after a traitor. Nana, the daughter of the Electra's household, denied it. Eager reasoned that due to the charges, the Earl's family was destroyed and sold as slaves. Wasn't that the case? He wondered why she was hiding it and didn't want others to know she was the daughter of a traitor. Nana insisted that her father was not a traitor but a victim, so he should stop spreading nonsense. Eager thought he finally heard her voice behind that strange smile. Nana revealed that her older brother's eyes hanged in front of their house and her family faced suicide. She was the only survivor. She asked Eager what he would do with her, whether he would mock her past or sell her to a brothel as a former aristocrat. Eager expressed that he wanted her to live in the future, not the past, and asked her to fall in love with him. Nana slapped him, telling him to get out and not talk such nonsense. If he wanted her body, she would allow it, but she would never give him her soul by lying about her past. She took out a knife, pointing it at herself, and declared that if he wanted her to forget her pride, she would end her life with pride. Eager responded that he didn't want her to sacrifice herself for her past family and city. He clarified that he wasn't asking for something that would never happen, stating that he was asking if she was willing to be with him. Nana retorted not to ask her something so obvious, asserting that she had already decided to reclaim her past. Eager proposed that she could have the city if she promised to be with him, and he vowed to obtain it for her, even if it took 10 or 20 years. Nana questioned how he could achieve that without 1,000,000 soldiers. Eager assured her that if she doubted him, she could stab herself in the neck, and he would fulfill his promise. He urged her to leave everything to him, and she wondered if she could really believe him. Eager embraced her, telling her to leave everything to him, and she became emotional, shedding tears like a baby. Eager resolved to take the kingdom and give it to her. The next morning, the three of them arrived at a ruined building. Eager asked the reason for coming there, and Nana revealed it was her home. She explained there was a hidden treasure that she believed in, based on everything he had said the previous night. She wanted to give him something in return, a family heirloom passed down since the first generation. It was a treasure given by the spirits, made of mithril, known as the Dual Crater, a light and stronger than any other metal object that never deteriorates. She took the sword and mentioned that it was carved from the land 200 years ago, the last legacy of the Electra household. She expressed that if his determination was genuine, she would give him the sword along with her soul. Handing the sword to him, she asked for a promise that he would bring the city to her. However, if he failed, she reserved the right to curse him and take his life. Eager, finding her beautiful but scary, commented on how noble people were like that. Syria interjected, stating that she was there too. Nana observed that Syria with Eager seemed like father and daughter. Eager swung the sword, finding it wonderful with a 140 centimeters blade that felt as light as a knife. He proceeded to cut some barrels, marveling at how effortlessly the sword sliced through them like butter. Nan-na hit him, telling him not to play with it. After that, Eager asked Nan-na to elaborate on what she had mentioned earlier about her father being a victim. She began narrating the incident, starting with news of bandits repeatedly stealing in their territory. Her father immediately gathered troops to attack the bandits, but they found no sign of them. Eventually, rumors circulated that the Earl had gathered soldiers to rebel against the federal government. The Earl sent messengers to the royal capital to clarify the misunderstanding, but the messengers never arrived. Meanwhile, a royal envoy sent to assess the situation was assassinated in the Earl's territory. At that point, the federal government officially declared that the Earl had rebelled, forming a subjugation army to suppress the rebellion. The Earl, who had visited the royal capital as a messenger to explain the situation, was executed. All the men of the Earl's household were hanged in front of their house, and all the women were deprived of their status and sold off as slaves. Nan-na's sister refused to be a slave, choosing to commit suicide, leaving Nan-na as the sole survivor. Eager found the story a bit sketchy, and Syria pointed out a problem that needed to be addressed. The next day, Nan-na raised her hand against Eager, injuring him. Eager reminded everyone of the incident, but Nan-na apologized for her actions. Eager assured her that it was fine and expressed his appreciation for girls with strong personalities. Syria, however, couldn't forgive Nan-na for hitting Eager and promised to punish her. Archid agreed, suggesting he would also punish Nan-na, and pulled down her cloth, hitting her back, to which she complained about the pain. Eager asked if she expected it to be pleasant, and Nan-na insisted that she had been punished enough. Eager questioned if it was sufficient. Eager then asked Syria to leave, stating it was adult time and she had to wait in a different room. Turning to Nan-na, Eager inquired if she was ready. Nan-na, in accordance with the oath she made earlier, declared that everything she had belonged to him. Before proceeding, she requested that Eager listen to her selfish request. She whispered something in his ear, and afterward, Eager asked if she wanted him to play a role. Nan-na agreed, confessing that it had always been a dream of hers.